Hey, what's up, Vault Hunters? Today I'm going to give you guys the best Rafa build built for solo play. It's a glass cannon run and gun build centered around high elemental damage, mixed with critical hits to keep your Peacebreaker cannons active throughout the duration of any fight that you're in. This build is fast, fun, and chaotic, so if you're ready, hit that like and subscribe button and let's get straight into it. Before we get into the skills, I want to mention that it's best to use an elemental gun with this build, most notably fire or corrosive. I'll explain why as we go through the build. So, this being a damage build, the first thing you're going to want to do is put 5 points into CTR. This is just base gun damage. You're going to need this, right? So, invest 5 points into that. Alright guys, so the next ability you guys want to pick up is Deft Hands. You're just going to get increased fire rate, which is going to result in more DPS for both you and the cannons, so 5 points into that. Now this is where we start to make it interesting. Let's pick up Instinto, which will give your cannons crit hit chance, and upon activating them during the skill, you also gain more crit chance and crit damage at the cost of draining the duration faster. But it's also a kill skill. So every time you get a kill, it extends the duration of the ability. This is very important because now we also put 5 points into Juerga, which restores your cannon's duration while they're active whenever you or your cannons critically hit an enemy. These two abilities together are going to make it so your cannons are up during drawn out fights as long as there's big mobs to take out. Now we're going to start building towards our elemental damage, which is going to help us during our boss fights. Let's start out with Vitriol. The first shot fired from a fully loaded magazine will do extra corrosive damage. This here is why using a corrosive weapon is so powerful with this build, but you can also use fire to truly maximize this build, which I'll explain shortly. At max level, this ability is going to do plus 55% bonus damage in the first shot. It's pretty significant. Next, we're going to max out Concentrated Buildup, which gives us shock damage that applies and increases as Rafa aims down his gun. You get a flat 10% damage with additional 2.5% shock damage, maxing out at 20 stacks. That means you can get up to 60% total shock damage if you're aiming down your gun. Between Vitriol and Concentrated Buildup, you're going to shred through both armor and shields at the same time. But hold on, we're going to apply another element to the mix, which is going to be fire, so stay tuned. After all, we need to burn through flesh as well, right? We've got enough points invested to get a capstone, so let's pick up Beam Team. Our cannons are now shock and corrosive beams that auto-lock to enemies in view and can also lock to different enemies. Now, whenever Rafa applies elemental damage, he deals increased damage with his beams. 5% damage stacking up to 50 stacks, for a grand total of 250 action skill damage at max stacks. That's insane! But it gets even better. Check this out. Let's pair this up with Al Alacrin, which makes it so that enemies hit by Rafa's beams have a 35% increased chance to receive elemental effects. So, with this skill, you will almost always be applying elemental damage to enemies, increasing your stacks of Beam Team, which is effectively going to be maximizing your DPS. You are going to melt through everything, including bosses. Now we have Corrosion and Shock always being used for armor and shields, but now we need fire damage for flesh enemies. Let's check out the left branch of the skill tree in order to get that. We're going to get Asymmetric Warfare, indirect projectiles, which will include Rafa's beams, thrown guns, or grenades. These will be given a whopping 45% damage at max level, so your beams DPS increase greatly along with grenades. Now, I'll also say to maximize DPS going forward, you should use an ordnance that activates upon impact and that can critically hit. So, preferably a throwing knife or a grenade with fire damage. The reason for this is because of our next skill, Errant Spark. With this skill, all our indirect projectiles are guaranteed to deal incendiary damage. If the projectile already deals incendiary damage, this value is doubled. So 40% bonus fire damage and 80% when doubled. Use a fire grenade to maximize your damage here, guys. So now with this skill, the lasers will do incendiary, corrosive, and shock damage by themselves with increasing damage as they stack. That doesn't even include the elemental damage you're doing from your own guns and grenades. We have significant elemental damage from the 3 best elements in the game to directly counter all 3 health types: flesh, armor, and shields. But let's take it one little step forward. Pick up Lateral Plinking, giving your indirect projectiles a chance to ricochet and hit other enemies. This is going to help with clearing mobs, and since this is a pure glass cannon build, you need it just in case you go down. Your beams stay up during Fight for Your Life, so having this skill will not only help you with overall damage output, but it will help make sure you can revive yourself, which you'll need if you're playing solo. Now at level 38, this is where I just completed the game and tested this build in the wildcard mission in true Vault Hunter mode level 1 in the starting areas. From what I've tested so far, this build absolutely still melts enemies and bosses provided you're keeping up with guns for your current level. From here, I still have some skill points to invest once I level up, so after I've hit 50 and smoothed out this build, I'll make another video showcasing the rest of the skills you'll want to pick up to continue dealing massive damage. Now let me show you guys equipment that you should use, but again, it's not completely necessary as the skills themselves are more than enough to cruise through the game. My favorite gun manufacturer in the game is Vladov, so I personally use their assault rifles or SMGs as my primary gun. Here, I'm using a Vladov SMG with kinetic damage. It's not the best roll on a gun, but like I said with this build, it's not a huge deal. In fact, depending on the enemy, it might be better to simply use a kinetic gun since you've already got plenty of elemental damage through your build. But, if you know you need to fight a certain type of enemy with a certain type of health, that's where it's more efficient to use a fire or corrosive gun. To be honest, your cannons do like 90% of the work for you in this build, so honestly just use what you have fun using. Now I do want to emphasize that you should pick a rep kit that has high healing or multiple charges, since as we have stated multiple times, this is a true glass cannon build. You'll need the healing just as a security blanket if you find yourself in some drawn out fights because stronger enemies with high burst damage can nearly one-shot you, so you need to be careful. I'm currently using this Maliwan rep kit which has 33% cooldown reduction, but it is only level 32 and I need to upgrade it pretty soon. I do need to talk a little about this class mod. It's going to increase your overdrive bonus by 100% and it also gives you Soltado, which doubles all overdrive bonuses. So basically this class mod is broken. The build is still incredibly powerful without it as I have tested it, but this baby is how you become a god amongst rippers. I mean, I'm using the level 20 version of the class mod still. Farm for this bad boy, it is game changing, trust me. That's going to finish up this build guys, so now I'm going to show off some gameplay of this build in a boss fight so you guys can see for yourself how good it is. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting my channel, it really means the world to me. I'm so close to my goal of being partnered with YouTube, so please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next video.